Now, this session itself, we'll talk a little bit about why you might want to consider university, the types of things you should be considering if you haven't already started making notes on what you're looking for in a university, the application process, and maybe a little bit about the transition if we have time to get to it. For today's session, we're using a platform called Mentimeter. So if you have access to a second device, or if you're on your computer, open up a new tab and head on over to menti.com and insert the link that you see at the top, or the digits you see at the top. And I'll share a direct access link here in the chat as well. So that way you can join us for any of the interactive sessions. I always like to have some audience participation in my presentation. So we'll get started with that. So let's go to the first question here. Where are you watching from? Toronto, the big one. Yes. Thank you for the few folks that have sent that in. So lots of Ontario. I see Markham, folks from Columbia and Brampton, Halifax, Calgary, Vancouver. So good morning to the Vancouver folks, and late morning to the Calgary folks. Excellent. I did see some international locations in yours. Thank you for joining us. This session is going to be geared towards Canadian students, whether it's here in Ontario or one of the other provinces. If you are an international student, you're studying in another country, we do have a session running right now specifically for folks that are studying at an international institution. And if you are a Canadian citizen studying outside of Canada, we have a session running specifically for you folks as well. So this will be really, my messaging will be geared a little more towards folks that are in Canada. You're welcome to stay if you'd like, but there are sessions that are available to you specifically. So we'll give this maybe 5 more seconds. I see a yep. Great. Excellent. Awesome. So let's continue to the second question. So here for me in Toronto, I am in Toronto at the moment. It's quite sunny. It was cloudy this morning, but it's cleared right up. Let me know what it's like where you are. So all the Ontario folks, I think you're seeing the sunny. I think Alberta is quite sunny at times. So that might be the rest of the Alberta folks. Someone is in a snowy place. Excellent. Love to know more about that. And we might have some folks in a cloudy and rainy place. Excellent. So we're figuring out how Mentimeter works. I'm glad that you're participating. Don't leave that tab. You can stay there. We'll continue to the next slide. So my first question, why might someone want to go to university? What are your thoughts? Why would someone be interested in going to university versus another post-secondary pathway? Feel free to rank the one that you think is the best fit for you, that you think is kind of the aim and the goal of a university, or you think is the aim of a student at the moment. So you have the option to say you go to university to get a job, to get a career, to get a professional degree. So things like law, pharmacy, dentistry, medicine. You want to study something you enjoy and you're passionate about, or you just want personal growth. You want to be a better reader, a writer, a scientist, whatever it is. So we're seeing that tick up really slowly. So it's starting to level out there a little bit. Yeah, and really it as of late tends to kind of skew in the numbers that we're seeing here, that the careers and the jobs are what people are thinking universities for, or why they really go to university. And really these 4 are based on me running a presentation like this with other students your age and other students from across Canada. And really, that's kind of the reason people go to university. Yes, to get a job, to be motivated and to have access to industry, but you might also be really interested in history or in biology or in communications and just want to learn as much as you can about it. Or you might be thinking, you know what, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor. This is the first step in the process. So I need to go to university and then go on to do a graduate degree or a postgraduate degree. Or you might be really eager to enter the job market. You want some foundation, you want some skills to help get you there and make you a better candidate for jobs and careers that you might be looking at. So there are some career benefits. So for the folks that are coming to university or looking for university to be that foundation, there are some benefits. Folks in Ontario and Canada with a university degree have done best in the labor market. So that's jobs in the landscape. These folks typically suffer less periods of unemployment and are paid or are typically paid more. So over 90% of university graduates in Ontario report being employed in a field that is at least partially related to their studies within 2 years of graduation. And that comes from a 2015 study that was done by the Higher Education Quality Council of Ontario. So HECO kind of did a bit of a report there. So it makes you employable, it gives you that employability. Universities also help with career mobility, and that's the ability to move between pay grades, to move between positions or even industries, starting in one area and transferring your skills to other areas. And how universities help would be through those transferable skills, or you might have heard of them referred to as soft skills. So things like critical thinking, communication skills, problem solving, and interpersonal skills. And these are the skills that are really in demand in industry at the moment. Sure, being able to do a technical aspect of a job is important, but also being able to communicate and work with others is really what sets people apart. And those skills, of course, will be more transferable when you're sitting at that interview, you're sitting or you're talking to an employer. You'll have these skills to be able to fall back on. And of course, having that mobility and that flexibility really gives you, or having those skills and the diversity of skills gives you the flexibility and mobility in your career. So you decide, maybe I want to change industries, I want to change the type of things I'm doing. And then finally, of course, the financial piece of it. University students typically earn nearly 40% more than students who don't have or have not pursued post-secondary education. So there is that financial payoff that some students are looking for, and some applicants are looking for. So thinking about schools in Ontario, how many universities are there in Ontario? So head back to Mentimeter if you have that open on a different tab, and let me know, is it 18 universities? So these would be publicly funded institutions in Ontario. Is it 27? Is it 21, 22, or 50? And we'll give that maybe 15 more seconds. So we could be, as a province, a really dense province with lots of institutions, like 50. We could be somewhere in the middle with 18, or somewhere in between the high and the low, between 21 and 22. And it looks like a lot of our folks, our viewers today, have been doing a little bit of their research. So I'm seeing 21 as the leading number of universities. That answer is mostly true, except it's not true as of about 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, a new university was introduced. A new university was introduced, and we actually have 22 universities here in Ontario. I don't know if you can change your scores. I know sometimes we'll change scores around. So here are the 22 incredible universities that are available to our students in Ontario. And they range in where they're located. Some are in city centers, some are a little further east, and some are a little further west. And we have a few up north and a few closer to our southern borders in places like Windsor. These universities really, in Ontario, we're really lucky. We have a really high quality of education and high quality of universities. So what sets these apart really is they'll each have unique aspects and unique things that make them different from the others. So it's kind of on you as the grade 11, grade 12 students, or maybe post grade 11 and 12, looking at universities to figure out what is the best fit for you. So finding the universities or university that is an ideal candidate to be your university. So a couple of things to help with that kind of search. I would say start with the academics, figure out, does the university have the program that you want to study? It'd be great if you're interested in a school, but you know what, we don't have the program that you're looking for. Is that university recognized? Are they recognized locally, internationally, on a Canadian scale or a national scale? Are they a top 20 school in the country? Are they a top 20 school worldwide? And does that even matter to you? Does reputation matter to you? For some folks, it is an important part of the consideration process, and for others, it's not. When you're looking at your programs, is this university or the university you're looking for, are they known for the program of study you want to take? Thinking about their teachers and their professors, what are they like? Are they good researchers? Are they leaders in their field? Or are you being taught by someone who is a leader in their field and is an expert in what they're telling you? Have they been recognized for their teaching abilities and their mentorship abilities? And then what kind of opportunities are there? Going to class, going to lecture, and that kind of stuff is great, but what else can you do while you're there at that university? Is there research? U of T, for example, has research as early as second year. So as an undergraduate student, that's not always available. Does the university you're interested in have internships? Does it have co-ops? And how can you access those kinds of resources and experience to better facilitate and expand your portfolio when you're looking at future opportunities and looking at job opportunities? You also might want to consider the physical space of that university. And this one's really important. As I mentioned, universities here in Ontario, the publicly funded institutions are spread out across the province. So knowing their location might be an important piece. Are they in a really large city center? Are they in a smaller city or a smaller community? And is that the experience that you want? Do you want to have a really good access to shops and restaurants and arts? Are you looking for the traditional college or university experience where it's a university city? Most of the population is university students, and it really is a hub for that university. You might also want to consider the overall size. There are benefits and drawbacks to both large institutions and small institutions. So having an idea of the overall scale of that school and what the size impact is for you would be an important piece. And then, of course, if you're thinking of living away from home, is residence available? What kind of styles of residence or what styles of residence are available to you? And are you going to be able to stay there depending on what's happening with the pandemic? Thinking again outside of the classroom, really what is going to be available to you to help you succeed and thrive when you're at this institution? What kind of services and supports are there for you? Are there mentorship programs? Is there a mental health services on campus? Is there health and wellness on campus and academic success centers, writing centers? Financially speaking, what kind of supports are available? So there are scholarships available to students. Are there grants and bursaries available to students? Really, how will you be supported financially? So here's a scale testing question for the audience. And I feel like I'm going to get the right answer from y'all because you have been pretty close to the answer over the last few slides. So what is the difference between scholarships and then grants and bursaries? So we have scholarships on one side and grants and bursaries on the other side. What do you think is the difference? Is it that you have to pay back grants and bursaries and you don't have to pay back scholarships? Do you think grants and bursaries are only needs-based? Scholarships are only needs-based? Or there's no difference and I'm just trying to trick you? We have a well-informed crowd. We're running away with grants and bursaries are only needs-based. And that's a really important distinction to make. Scholarships are typically based on your merit. Often they can be automatic when you're admitted to the university, like at U of T, every student is automatically considered. But grants and bursaries are based on a student's needs. So they might have a small piece of academic requirement, but they're typically based on your financial need and your family situation. U of T, for example, we offer about $100 million in funding each year, and that's kind of the average that we have. We have a really healthy scholarship program, but about 70% of that money that I was talking about, the funding that we have, 70% of that is actually geared towards grants and bursaries. So we actually do more in the form of grants and bursaries versus scholarships, while still maintaining a fairly healthy scholarship program to reward students and award students that are doing really well in university. Oh, that's great. You can see percentage. Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about the application process. I'm sure I've convinced you to go to university, to look for the scholarships. You found out everything you need to, and you're looking at the application process now. So really generally, I'll talk generally for all of the universities here, and again, use U of T as some examples. Our applications are done using the Ontario Universities Application Center, or the OUAC, which is a really simple bare bones application. If you are so it's a bare bones application. It asks who you are, how we can get in touch with you, so your contact information, and then what you would like to study. On the OUAC, there are two types of forms that you might see. If you are graduating from an Ontario high school, you would use the 101 application. And if you're everyone else, you'd be using the 105 application. So those are the two big distinctions. On that OUAC application, you get 3 program choices, and you can decide to use those 3 choices at any 3 universities in Ontario, or you could decide to use all 3 program choices at one particular institution. So if you say, you know what, I'm all in on U of T, I'll apply all 3 of my choices to U of T, there is that option. So the max you can apply to any university is also 3. For the base fee, which is about $150 for 101 applicants and about $156 for 105 applicants, you get those 3 program choices. If you want to add more choices, you can, as long as they're not at the same institution. You can do that for $50 per choice. And all of this information will be posted on the OUAC website, and it'll be out in front of you, so you can review it. You don't have to take heavy notes in this session. After you've submitted that OUAC application, remember, it's really general. How do we contact you? What do you want to study? After you submit that OUAC application, we'll reach out to you and get you connected to our applicant portals. So for U of T, our applicant portal is called Join U of T, and that's really where the rest of your application lives. If we require any documents from you, it'll be listed there. If you'd like to live in residence, it'll be listed there. If there are any scholarship or the awards profile is available to you, it'll be listed on that Join U of T applicant portal. So that really is kind of the hub, and you'll find that universities will have some form of that, whether it's at U of T or at another institution. So if we require documents, all of that stuff will be pulled in from that hub. Looking at the requirements really generally, we consider students based on their curriculum. So for Canadian students, it'll be based on your provincial academic curriculum and your high school secondary diploma curriculum. It's important, again, to remember each university will have varying requirements, but generally grade 12 English is an important part of that consideration. So almost all the universities would be looking for your senior level of English. The thing, or where we do vary, maybe based on the requirements for particular programs, depending on what you might want to go into, there may be prerequisites based on that program. So for example, engineering, you would require engineering at U of T. In addition to that English, you would require both your senior math, chemistry, and physics. And if you're applying to humanities, we have a minimum number of grade 12 courses that you need to have, including ENG 4U or your English course in your province, whether it's ENG 4U, English 12, or ELA 30, or whatever it may be labeled in your province. Again, the requirements do vary based on your province of study, and they do vary depending on which university you want to go into. So again, asking questions around what am I being considered on is an important one to consider. For this, actually, this piece might vary for each institution, but it's really important for the University of Toronto is the fact that when you apply, your grade 11 marks do count. So the earlier offers that we make can be based on your grade 11 marks. We like to start with grade 11 marks, and as your grade 12 marks become available, we'll use those instead. So grade 11 is a really important year. Oftentimes I get questions around, does grade 11 matter? In short, it does. For the most part, for most programs at U of T, and you'll find across most universities, there isn't a general essay or general requirement to submit an essay of any sort. But there are some programs in some universities that'll have supplemental applications, that'll have supplementary applications, and they can take various forms. So they could be a written response, like an essay style question or a statement of interest, or they could even include something like a video response where you get a question or a prompt and you're asked to respond to it in a recorded format. So it's important to know at U of T, these are the only programs that would have a supplementary application. I should say, if you're looking at something like music, of course, expect an audition. So at U of T, these are the only programs that require a supplementary application or a supplemental application. If you're applying to the life sciences or science-based program, if you're applying to the humanities or social sciences, we wouldn't require anything additional to your marks. For folks who are studying in Canada, but English might not be your first language, or you haven't studied in Canada for at least 4 years, we do have an English language facility test or requirement that you would need to meet. These are the most common of the tests and requirements that we use to meet our language requirement. The newest one would be Duolingo, which we brought online last year. So they're all fairly accessible, and an important piece for students who might be new to Canada or new to the Canadian curriculum, and haven't had that kind of experience in the past. And then talking a little bit about the common required documents. So depending on where you're coming from, the way your marks are submitted might be a little bit different. Ontario high school students, your marks will automatically be sent to us from your guidance officers or guidance counselors. The 101 application really begins once your guidance team gives you a PIN number. So that PIN number allows them to then submit your grades to the OUAC, who then shares it to the universities that you're applying to. So submitting your documents will be fairly simple for Ontario high school students. The only thing to look for are those supplementary applications, and if you are required to submit a language test or language to meet our language requirements, that might be necessary. For students from other provinces, on the Join U of T portal, you'll be able to upload unofficial copies of your transcripts and of your midterm reports, your interim reports, report cards, and then you'll be able to send in your final officials directly from either your ministry or your high school will send them to us. But the official transcripts are not necessary until the end of your school year. As I mentioned earlier, supplementary applications may be an important piece of your application. And then, of course, the proficiency of language. So either the test or a record of your study in Canada or a country where English is the dominant language. A couple pieces of advice before we move to your questions, and there's 50 questions there, so I don't believe I'll be able to get to all 50, but we'll try to get a few of the most upvoted. So instead of submitting the next question, take a read and upvote a couple that you think will be, that are very similar to your question or a question that you think is important to answer in this session. We'll do our best to answer one or two, depending on the time. So piece of advice, do your research early. The fact that you're here is excellent. This is really the start of research period, especially for Ontario students. Our website, discover.utoronto.ca, is a really great resource for Ontario students and students that are looking at U of T specifically. We'll have live sessions posted there. We'll have on-demand sessions posted there. And the next time we have an event, Fall Campus Week is the next big event that we're doing. It'll also be posted there, and that'll be towards the end of October. You'll get an email inviting you to join us for that. When it comes time to applying, apply early, submit your documents early. The earlier you apply and submit documents, the earlier we can start considering you. And when you apply early, you'll have more of a runway to put together the package or anything that you have to send to us, or if you have to work on a supplementary application, it gives you a better timeline as to when everything is due. And then finally, check your emails, check your applicant portals on a regular basis. All of the important information will be posted to your Join U of T portal for U of T, and then we'll send you email reminders if you miss anything. With that, we have about 3 minutes, so I'll invite my colleague Jenny on to do a couple questions before we wrap up and give you time to get to your next session. And I'll pull up the questions. We're having a technical glitch for Jenny, but that's okay. I can manage the question. So the top most voted question, how will quadmesters affect the application process? Well, the good news is that it won't. Hey, Anne, thanks for joining. We went through one full cycle last year with the quadmester system, and we just utilized the same process that we always have. So we start with your grade 11 marks. They're available. When your grade 12 marks come available, then we'll swap those in for the grade 11s that are equivalent to it. So English, for example, English 11 or ENG 3U would be utilized up until ENG 4U comes online, and we'll use that to submit and make a conditional offer. And our offers are always conditional. We often will make offers based on partial marks, so it won't be a factor or something to stress about on your end.
Hey, Floyd, this is another popular question that's been popping into our feed. How do double majors or double degrees work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So double majors are very different than a dual degree. So a dual degree means you're studying two large sections of material and you'll graduate with 2 degrees. A double major means that within 1 degree, you're studying 2 areas of focus. And U of T offers, I think, about 3 or 4 dual degrees, and they're not really widespread. They're fairly competitive, and they're a lot of work. But we do offer double majors across our St. George, Scarborough, and Mississauga campuses. So the double major means that you're taking half of your degree essentially and focusing in one area of study, and you're taking the other half and focusing it in another area. So it could be like history and biology, which is doable here at the University of Toronto. It's no more work than doing all of your studies in biology. You're just splitting up how much you focus in that particular field.
Hey, thanks. Many of us mixed and matched our programs, so it's great, lots of flexibility. So this is another popular question we get here at U of T. What are the primary differences between our campuses other than location? And then which campus would you suggest is best for humanities or social sciences, or for any other program for that matter?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'm sorry, part of what you excluded is the rationale for the University of Toronto. So the biggest difference is within our campuses is the location. St. George is right downtown in the heart of Toronto. Scarborough is in the east end of the city in Scarborough, and Mississauga is in the west in the city of Mississauga. So the locations are a really big piece. They're a really big piece when it comes to the style and fit of the university that you're looking for. Quality-wise, it's the exact same quality. The fact that we can offer a U of T degree in Scarborough, Mississauga, and St. George is based on the strength of that quality. So there isn't one campus that's better for particular things when they're offered across all 3. The level of education, the level of quality that you get, no matter which campus you decide, would be the same. When you graduate from U of T, you would graduate with a University of Toronto degree, whether it's from U of T Scarborough, U of T Mississauga, or from the Faculty of Arts and Science at the St. George campus.
And I think we have just time for one more question, Floyd. And this is sort of a dual question. When will the application be open, and what are the application deadlines?
That's a really great question. So the 105 application will be opening on Monday, September 20th. It'll be available for students to access. And the 101 application will be opening in early October. The 105 application, we encourage students outside of Ontario to start submitting that in the early part of November. So November 7th is our early recommended deadline, and the final deadline will be in the early part of January. For Ontario students, your application, while it opens in October, you won't be able to access it until you get a PIN number from your guidance counselor. So your guidance counselor, your guidance team will give you a PIN number. Once you have that PIN, you can access it. And you can get that PIN anywhere from late September to early November, depending on your region. And there's no disadvantage to getting it a little bit later. You can go in and submit. Our recommended deadlines are also kind of balanced based on that. Most students in Ontario, I recommend applying in early to mid-December just to get the process out of the way, with the final deadline being in early January. So it's the first week that you come back from the holiday break is when the deadline typically is.
Great. And I think we're at our time limit.
Excellent. And I've gone a couple minutes over, so I'll wrap up really quickly. I just want to say thank you for joining me this session. I'm sorry to the 76 questions that haven't been answered, but I want to say this isn't the end. This is the start of your research process. This is the start of you asking questions, and you'll have lots of opportunities over the course of this month and over the fall to get those questions answered. This session, this week, or this day, I challenge you to ask the what do I need to get into blank program questions. Ask questions about experiences, ask questions that will give you a better idea of fit for the program you're going into or want to go into. So as soon as this session wraps up in about 15 minutes, so at 1:45, we'll be starting our student panel. So if you'd like to hear stories from students, you'd like to ask questions to students, again, don't ask them how you can get into a particular program. That will be available and posted on the Start Here website. So discover.utoronto.ca/start here. Or if you go back to your confirmation email, you'll find it there. After that, we'll be doing the mock lecture and the parent panel. And then finally, at the end of the day, at about 2 o'clock, we'll be doing our Q&A. So if you do have some more burning questions after you've heard everything that's had to be said, then you can come back and join us for that Q&A. All right. I hope this was informative. I hope this helps you think about things to ask. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Have a wonderful afternoon.